When it comes to a game like Wolverine, I think the tone matters a lot. Probably more than anything. Whether you're dealing with the story, the character, the combat, the violence, the presentation, all of that, I think, has been nailed by Insomniac. And this is going to be a pretty deep dive and a lot of reflection on just a pretty short trailer, but also there was the extra video they did behind the claws. So I wanted to talk about those things: story, character, combat, violence, and then lastly the presentation, and why I feel like Insomniac is nailing the tone for Wolverine. Let's just talk story. So every good story has crisis, struggle, and resolution. That's kind of the flow of all good stories. And the crisis and the struggle for Wolverine is that he never seems to be able to sort of escape what he embodies, and he reluctantly, sometimes seemingly, embodies violence. He doesn't really see himself as a hero. Violence and trouble tend to follow him wherever he goes. I think this is a really fitting tone for the character and his game. I think if they had a game where he was just sort of doing the hero thing, it would not have worked. When we were discussing this in my live stream, we were sort of debating on whether or not this would be an open world game. And we all sort of landed on the same conclusion that it really wouldn't work as an open world game. And if they do it, we'll have to check and see if that is something they decide to do. Because he's not the Caped Crusader. He's not friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's not like taking care of a city. He's more of a mission, more of a job-oriented character. And I actually think, just based on this trailer, that seems to be what's going on. He doesn't seem to be in one place. He doesn't seem to be like roaming cities and streets and things like that. That doesn't seem to be the focal point, okay? And I actually think the first trailer really hinted at this tone. Now, if you remember the first trailer, it was sort of a teaser, right? We didn't know much about it. We didn't know what was going on. And I think that very first trailer hinted at this tone. The bar's destroyed. Wolverine's just sort of sitting there trying to enjoy a moment of peace. But even after the fight, somebody comes up from behind wanting to continue fighting him, almost as if like it's hinting to you the cycle of violence is not really giving him any peace. He's always going to be sort of followed. Even once the fight is over, he can't just sit down and enjoy a drink. Somebody's going to come up behind him and want to perpetuate the fight. So from the very first trailer, I feel they have hinted that the tone of the game is going to be not your cliche hero story, but one where violence follows a man who can't seem to escape it. Which naturally leads into the next thing I want to talk about, the character of Wolverine. He obviously needs grit, he needs anger, but not in like a cliche way, like where he's just like running around being an angry brute. He's almost animalistic, and I think they nail this in the trailer when he rips the one guy apart and he's almost viscerally looking around like a snarling animal. This, I think, is part of the character. If he was just sort of, running around screaming and yelling, we've got plenty of games where we do that. This is more of a visceral, animal-like attack and, posture. But also, there is a deeper, almost broody side to the character, and that does seem present. He says things like, I'd like to say I'm not a violent man. No matter where I go, death's always waiting, just not for me. That's the type of reflection, and that's the type of sort of like internal dialogue that deepens a character beyond the cliche, beyond him just sort of being angry, running around and slicing and dicing. Him actually going through sort of a thought process of like, this doesn't seem to be like just like the fact that this violence follows me everywhere. And there's almost a reluctancy and an anger when he's lashing out. His anger doesn't seem to be purely based on who he's attacking. There also seems to be sort of a deep-seated anger there that he wishes it didn't have to be this way, right? You get this in the comics, you get this in the cartoons and the movies as well. The embodiment of Wolverine's character arc is actually pretty unique if you think about it. His healing ability is used to turn him into a weapon. The juxtaposition, I think, is very interesting if you kind of analyze it, right? Something that could have been used to help cure diseases or bring a lot of good is used to make a weapon, is to make a mechanism of violence. And that violence is sort of thrust on him, and it really makes his character feel not just angry about his past, but angry at what's continually forced in his lap, as it were. The violence and the killing feels almost like an act of frustration at even having to do it. And the closing line, I think, really cements his outlook. He's not a hero. he's Wolverine. He doesn't see himself as a superhero, as a hero, as somebody to be like, admired. He's taking on the moniker of an animal. I love the tone for the game. It's not just going to be some throwaway action game, but one with the character and journey that I think is going to feel thoughtful and meaningful, which comes to the combat. This is one of the more bigger concerns I had about a Wolverine game. It's got to be fast, visceral. It has to be really violent, and they did not hold back. There's dismemberment. There's killing on par with like Mortal Kombat fatalities. There's an entire blood system built specifically for this game so that you feel like you're literally chopping people up into bits. And with the narration and the character and the story and the tone, the violence doesn't feel glorified. It doesn't feel like it's gore for the sake of gore. His blood-stained, blood-drenched clothes in his face, it really does feel, I think, coupled well with the tone where violence is following him. It stains him. It marks him. This doesn't feel like some gore flick, right? Which comes to the presentation, which I think is hugely important here. Insomniac understands presentation. The way they nailed the feel of Spider-Man proves this, and the Wolverine trailer just re-cements my confidence in their abilities. Now, hopefully, they never grow tired of doing superhero games because they're really good at it. And when you're really good at something, you're probably going to continue to get asked to do it. The Wolverine trailer, honestly, I think gives us a glimpse into why the Venom game is rumored to be later. And you're like, well, why would the Venom game have anything to do with this? I would think they're going to take a similar approach, and they want to nail the feel of being Venom beyond their very basic approach that they had in Spider-Man 2. It's clear they wanted to capture the feel of Wolverine, which I don't think is easy to do. Like, do you make him lumber around like Kratos? Do you make him fast? Is he climbing buildings? Like, how exactly do you interpret his abilities? They coupled the first Wolverine trailer that we're watching right here with a behind the claws video. That video really shows their passion and their commitment. It's actually part of the presentation. It's part of why this landed so well. They talk about how he can be this sort of rage-filled mechanism of violence, but also he can show kindness, he can show tenderness. This means they understand that building a complex character is just as important as building a fun character to play as. How serious Liam McIntyre is taking this role is also really worthy of credit. He's not just like, oh yeah, this is exciting, I get to be Wolverine. The way he talks about this, he's taking this very, very serious. I think this is also a huge standout in their Behind the Claws video. They said that they wanted to build a story and a game that was true to the Wolverine experience and essence, and then they thought about how to put their stamp on it. At a time where creatives take the work of others and reinvent or reimagine, this is a breath of fresh air in the realm of priorities. Their priorities are to make Wolverine feel like Wolverine. That matters first. And then after that, they thought, okay, how can we put our stamp on it? I think you're going to be able to tell that this is an Insomniac game, and I think that's totally fine. Just how they talk about the cover artwork. The guy says it's dynamic, it's rough edge, there's a sense of urgency and forward movement and rage and fury, and that's Wolverine. They clearly want every piece of this game, even the cover art, to capture the tone and feel of the character. So to me, it's clear. For superhero games, especially a game like Wolverine, tone matters. And Insomniac doesn't just understand that, they appear to be nailing it. But that's just what I think. I'd love to hear what you think.